I don't have internet here. I don't think I do.
You know, his candidates would have a record too. if they
We got
actually-
all the documents, and we're gonna put it on the agenda.
He did. Yes, that was good.
Just waiting.
Oh.
Film. We could start without. Maybe. And the, yeah. We're supposed to, like, something, we're supposed to send an email. Yeah, yeah.
I'm so scared. No, but it just be nice. It just hasn't been a person off my
Yeah, Matt said no, he didn't get it. I may not be able to do this because I don't have
Maybe
all
that's-
the documents. I only have one of them in my hard drive.
Well, let me see what I have here.
Do you want to go after Jason so you can leave?
I'd have to access.
This way you have the option. You want to stay longer? You're good where you're.
Okay. Yeah, I have, I think we're waiting to hear back from them, but I will respond immediately.
Yeah.
Oh.
I haven't.
Come on.
You know the drill.
So when you get there, I can open everything up for you.
So what I need to do is back as well. The lead agency first, and then also the EAF parts 1 and 2.
Yeah, and, yeah, so we declare lead agency, and then
Thank you very much.
we do
The secret.
secret lead agency,
And
and then it's a,
Miss Carly, she's
Thank you.
I don't feel compelled to do it. It's easier to just do it yourself instead of teach me. Go ahead.
no. Rick's are also all different than Joe's. Are we all set? Okay. Oh yeah, we'll wait for Julie then. Julie, we have the projector? We might.
I go now?
No, we can, can we get the projector from Village Hall? Or maybe, you go home and get it.
Yeah.
And then,
I want to leave this here.
Thank you for the hand holding. Appreciate it. Indeed.
and so it's a type 1 that way, that's why we do the EAF.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well summarized.
Okay, we can start. I'd like to make a motion to open the Thursday, June 6, 2019 New Paltz Town and Village Joint meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Second.
Sorry, I didn't wait.
Oh.
No. We went to get the projector. We need the projector for the presentation. But, why don't we start?
Why don't we start with public comment?
Yeah, so, and then we'll do the agenda after that, because Tim may have to add something.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open the floor for public comment. If you could please come up, sign up, and then address the board. We like to keep comments to 3 minutes. We don't, try not to shut people off, but remember that other people want to have a voice as well. So if that's all set, come on up and okay, Rebecca? Right up.
I was surprised by the information in the position and was I understand there are monetary implications. I greatly enjoyed the work I did in the center. I have been signed by the community members that she work I accomplished in the position. If any money is found in the future for the position of production system or anything similar, I'd like to ask the board for the right to
We don't talk back, sorry, like, but. Hi, Rebecca.
So we have
Can you please tell us your name?
Rebecca Runsford.
Just for the record.
So, we have really, really good friends who go to the recruitment center, the reuse center, and have worked with Pam and her incredible work there. And we gathered
And there any other comments, public, and not public input? If not, we will. You guys have a quorum now? Well, you guys can open your. Like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Second for discussion,
Yes.
to add on the town's agenda 59 North Hut Corners Road.
Okay.
Secret if you want to know the specifics.
I
Do-
second that as amended.
You guys have anything to add to the joint agenda?
We do not.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements, anyone? We don't have any announcements this week. As the town of the village has any announcements? Okay. With that, you want to try to see if we can get yours hooked up? I don't think we can, but Julie's going to get the right adapter.
Yeah, the only problem is that the internet's super slow because I'm on the
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to, we'll wait on the presentation, but we'll get on to number 2. This is a petition to establish water district extension for New Paltz storage. And this is, the way it officially works is that the petitioner petitions the town, and then we ask the village, but my motion is that the town accept the petition from Andy Lawyer, Mr. Andrew Lawyer. So a motion to accept the petition and make a request to the village to allow us to extend the water district.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And
Right, so along these same lines, I just wanted to make sure that we were on a path to sort out the situation where a property where Freihofers is currently located, that should have been done differently at the time when that property was set up with municipal water. So I just was looking for an update.
yeah, so I guess I've contacted the town attorney, and he's going to send them a letter informing them that we did not follow the correct procedure before. They need to petition us with a formal petition, and the part of that petition is that they agree to pay all costs associated with the extending the district, and that includes the legal costs and the engineering costs and everything. We then accept that petition like this, and then we make a formal request to the village. Once we hear back from the village with a acceptance or denial based on what the village's infrastructure issues are or are not, we can then tell them that they can go in, and then we have to file paperwork with the state because it's a very complicated, it's official taxing district. Without doing the correct steps, our attorney said we could get in a lot of trouble. So we're working on with Freihofers to make sure that they follow the correct procedure.
Great, yeah, that's really important that we have a process to follow. So it's not that property doesn't automatically just connect to municipal water without a review of our capacity constraints and infrastructure challenges. So thanks for making sure that that's handled correctly.
Okay, so the next item on here is, I kind of added this. This has been up in, it's come up continuously over the last few years. This is the issue of the Moriello Pool Playground. I know we're going to get some groans out there. Terrence is already sharpening his pencil. He's very excited about this. But this is a long-standing issue that the people in that neighborhood would like to be able to use that playground when the pool is not open, from September until May. And we've promised to open it in the past. We've had some discussions. I think this year we probably are even more likely to open it because the Hasbrook Park Playground will be closed probably for the month of September.
Yeah.
Or a good part of the month of September when it's being fixed and replaced. And so there will be no other playground. And I think it makes sense that we open that playground to the public in September and then
Day after Labor Day.
the day after Labor Day, when the pool closes.
Yep.
And so that we can see how it goes. And so I just wanted to
And
give,
then this way the pool can manage the playground during the summer months, that's your plan.
yeah.
Makes sense.
So just give people an update on that. And I want to hear Bill for the home sprinkler law.
There's no action to take on the Memorial Park playground? We're just-
You know, I think we need to talk to the rec committee. In theory, we could just open the gates up and close the gates, but I think we still want to close it at night. You know, one of the ideas is lock the gates at night. So we may have to look into getting a smaller person gate instead of the larger, just swing the gates open and close, and then that person gate. So we're gonna ask Chuck to get an estimate for what that would cost, and we'll bring it back to the board, you know.
And you're definitely gonna need your buildings and grounds folks, like our buildings and grounds, manage and maintain the Hasbrook Park on nearly a daily basis.
Okay.
So there's work involved, the minimum of being a trash man.
And so, Bill, home sprinkler law?
So I'm just having on the agenda to update, the law has been reviewed by our village attorney, we've had a couple of meetings, recently working with our fire chief. There were only some minor things that our attorney recommended doing, those were related to definition, spelling out what the OTD system is, which is a fire sprinkler system for egress areas. What needs to be discussed, I think, is how extensively we want to carry this law. We've talked about new construction, primary point that we have with new systems. I think what we want to talk about further now, rental units, which is not part of the law this time, included. I think that was one of our motivations drafting this. So I just wanted to get a little bit of feedback from you boards here, thoughts and feelings about that. I think there are
I like the idea that we came up with, which we didn't specifically say, but it's just conceptual, when there's major improvements to rentals, that it should be, we talked about, percentage, change, costs, I don't know.
right, you're up to 50% change.
Yeah, which is that's a pretty significant change, and but I also I think one of the concerns really is the rentals. You know, someone buys a raised ranch and then puts 3-4 students in there. You know, or tenants, and then there's just a lot more stuff in there, and so. Is there an idea to have rentals, if it's going to be rented and inspected, does that have a different, does it kick in and need to be sprinkled? Like when a house is bought and converted from a single family into a rental?
And I think that's language we have to develop in this law, because that's not really there at this time. So I can develop it a little bit further to include that, not just, is that the extent of what I do with rentals? Is that, just sort of a feel for what I'm thinking here. My perception is, rentals are a good
Yes.
idea, so.
Huge percentage of the village is student occupied, and it'd be good to see that they're all covered.
Yeah.
I did talk to a fire chief, not from around here, but in Orange County, and I was telling him about this, and he said, wow, that's a really good plan. And he said that it really helps with, and maybe you'd understand it more than me, but they talk about response time and coverage needs. That if you can show that a certain percentage of the buildings are sprinklered or if they have improved egress. It helps a lot with, what the coverage needs are. And he says, especially with volunteer departments, he goes, that's the way some districts are going to offset the decrease in, or the increase in response times, is by just having stricter zoning.
Well, and there's this other component to it is that those protect firefighters had a conversation with the captain chief from the DNY last week. He said he's fighting a noble cause and he's willing to come up and speak with us and answer questions. He still testified as an expert witness on it.
I'm also in favor of seeing this move to include rentals for sure.
Yeah.
So that's where it is, and we'll go back and work that in somehow with the chief as well as our attorney. This presents you and then presents your attorneys and the actual process.
But if we're talking about including rentals, are we only talking about including rentals that are part of an update?
Yeah, where are we drawing the line?
Yeah,
Because otherwise it's not fair to include rentals and then to also not include non-rental properties. Right, because the reason that you're doing this is for safety. So you can't distinguish rental versus non-rental if the reason you're doing it is for safety.
I mean, I was
That's
gonna say,
where the
what's the
construction comes in.
rationale if?
Oh,
you-
yeah.
Right, so
Which
if
we're
we
all good
just
with
did
that.
it- All right, but Neil mentioned conversion. If you're converting from a single family, like we might wanna draw the line there, but then what would be the rationale? That would be stronger, that would kick in for more people. The threshold of like major renovation was something that we didn't have with. But I feel like maybe there's something there. where-
So every
it
renovation
is
will
an
see,
egress.
if it's 50%, then be 49% the square footage changed.
Yeah, but I think it's important what Neil said, it clutters up spaces, and that's the issue, and just for people here, these are things that I've learned about sprinklers, like, they're not everywhere in the house, they're in the places where people are getting out of the house, right? So it's also the firefighters getting in and out of the house, so smaller spaces get exempt from the law because we can just get out of that small space. So it's about getting from an unsafe place to a safe place, and that pathway is sprinklered. And is there a rationale that when you become a rental from a single family, that always creates a situation that requires protection in order to respond to? Is there, I'm just spitballing there, I
So,
don't know if there is.
in a rental property, if more than one, I'm gonna assume students for this discussion,
We have lots of tenants that are not students.
in any instance where there's more than one person on a lease who's not related to the others on the lease, or where there is more than one lease because the occupants are not related, does that make it a multifamily housing?
We don't go down that path of defining families or who's related, who's not related.
Doesn't
That's
work.
a-
So it's still a single-family residence from your code perspective, even though there are multiple unrelated people living in it?
Yeah, we're agnostic on whether people are related or if there's any personal connection. So all we
Just
care about is
owner-occupied or
safety,
not.
ingress, egress, those are the only things we care about.
So Tim, do you see the safety difference, that there is a rationale when the owner is not occupying the residence, there's an extra measure of protection afforded to the folks that they're renting, that they're renting to, there's an extra protection afforded to those people?
I guess I don't understand.
Well, that to me, I feel like there is a case to make around, the folks who are renting deserve an extra level of protection when the owner is not living in the same house.
Personally, I am completely in favor of putting sprinklers
Yeah, I'm just
in
trying to
as many
understand
buildings
your
as
point.
possible. I just want to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Legally.
So if it's any residence that is not owner-occupied, that would be one possible way to approach it. Another way would be any residence that has not owner-occupied for which there have been any modifications made, whether through the building permit process or
So
otherwise.
then, how do you get involved in proving residency? Someone will say, I live there.
Well, we have everybody on the rent rolls, their address is on the tax rolls, their address is on the tax rolls, and if it doesn't match the address of the property, would that be a criteria that we could use?
You could live in a house and have some other entity own it, and you could be the owner of that other entity. Like, I'm, there's just, I just wanna do this correctly if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, and we've gone down these roads before, this whole definition of related to one family, this whole, how do you figure out what's owner occupied or not? I do think there's a logic to it, but again, there's an enforcement issue there.
Very difficult to enforce, but where you can enforce, if there's an application for a change, you can say, okay, you're making this change, and now you've kind of tripped this, you need to put the home sprinklers in, or new construction, we at least can see those people come in, otherwise we're searching and seeing who's renting, who's on the registry, those kind of things, make it difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, it's difficult, and there are people that are always gonna try to, get around the owner-occupied requirements, but I think you will eliminate them over time, especially if there is a fine that's involved, there is a, you have, if it's, you follow the rules, and if you don't follow the rules, there's a fine. And I think over time, you will eventually find out, with the rental registration and the inspections, whether things are owner occupied. I mean, you're not gonna get 100% compliance right away, but people, eventually you're gonna be able to tell whether they live in the house they own or not, or they're not living there. It's not New York City where we have, a million homes. And that, I think the rationale for why we may or may not want to do it and separate out different classes that would need to have sprinklers, for me, the difference between owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied, there is a difference for what David was saying, that the places are, I think, treated differently by the owners.
Well, I think at a minimum, we should just ask Will what he thinks about that, or did you already talk about the owner occupied?
We have talked about
rentals?
that. There is no real difficulty in asking someone for proof. That's common. Proof that so that's not such a difficult thing. It's a nuanced thing that I'll have to write.
Yeah, and I would just suggest we follow the lead of the village, and we have a much bigger rental situation, so I'd love to see how you would like to get that done, and what you're thinking. I think you've heard our opinions on it.
I'd certainly like to hear the village's direction, but as I'm constantly reminded, all the village residents are town residents also, so I have a responsibility to look after all of them.
Amen.
Anything else? If not, well, so this is just, this is like a B City USA designation. I think this is from the ENCB. Maybe Rose. Rose
all the-
Rose Rudinsky, I think, has asked us about this. This is really for discussion. When I read through it, it's actually kind of a big deal to become this, and I think that this is something that we could talk about and think about, and I think if there were a group of people that wanted to really take the lead on this, but this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it involves changing the master plan. And so it might also be something that, as the master plan is changed and updated, if this was still a big issue, then we might want to include it then. But, but I think doing this is part of my discussion. I think, although I like the idea of this, I think this would be basically creating a whole new board or volunteer group to lead this. Like the Shade Tree Commission, I think in the village, this is similar. And it would require resources and time, and unless there was a commitment from a half dozen people that wanted to do this, I think we want to wait to move forward on it.
That was my reaction. Fill in the blanks of who's gonna
Yeah.
do this. Literally, there's blanks on
Yeah, I don't think,
And
and
there's
I
a
don't
lot
think,
of work.
I don't think we're opposed to it, but
No,
this would
the
have to
concept is
be
great.
driven by a group of a half dozen or a dozen people that wanted to,
it. Yeah.
similar to, I think, the Climate Action Coalition, how they're really, I think, driving and pushing the boards to do certain things, by taking the lead. That, I think this would have to be, moved forward by a group of citizens, and if they're there, then we should talk. But this is more than just the board saying yes, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Pardon?
Odd numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
If Rose interested in pursuing this further, she just pretended.
This was sent, I said I'd bring it up with the boards and kind of get everyone's feeling. I think that people kind of feel the same way. So we'll kind of get back and say, if you really want this, it has to be developed and presented and really laid out with a path and a plan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is,
Should come through.
Yeah, I don't
should
think
come through those
ENCB can
departments.
just take it on. I think it needs its own.
I agree. This is like a full-time new commission. And so, okay, great, that's not just me. So, you want to do the presentation now? Or you want to just plow through the rest of the joint agenda? And then we'll take a break and we'll set it up.
Okay. Does that work, Jay?
We have 4 items.
We're your crowd.
So this resolution to appoint the CCA administrator. It kind of came in at the end of the day. It's a pretty standard resolution. I don't have the copy, Ariana. But this is, it's it's in the board packets, the paperwork. But the CCA committee has met recently, and I think KT, if you were at the meeting, Tim was at the meeting, and they've interviewed. There are only 2 administrators in the state. They've interviewed both of them, and if you're at the meeting, jump in and correct me.
Tim's on the committee.
But the recommendation is to go with Joule Energy Reduction Assets with the Hudson Valley Energy, providing the outreach and customer support as the CCA administrator for the village of New Paltz and the town of New Paltz. So it's,
Or Amanda, you wanna come and chat with us and answer any questions? Pull up a chair.
No, I was saying, Tim is here on the committee, so Amanda, I see you are too, so I just would like to hear from someone on the committee, because that's gonna be better information, I assume.
There's quite a few people that have been working on it, there's been more than one meeting. And besides the interviews, there's been a set of questionnaires that have gone back and forth that they've responded to, so we continue to put together the information. And then, this past week, we met again to review all of that, we have a decision that we would like to recommend you all, and then your colleagues in the
does anyone have any questions, or, otherwise my motion would be that the town accepts the CCA committee's recommendation and that we go with Joule as the administrator.
Wait, we have a full resolution there. Do you want to just like read from the conclusions or something?
Well, Ariana sent it to Kathy at the end of the day,
It's
and,
in the packet, I just couldn't get it.
okay.
You got it?
I don't think I have that actually.
So basically, both the town and the
Yeah.
separate ones, we can't pass joint? Okay, because we're going to reference the local laws that we each move.
So you're an aggregate. With the resolutions like
Right, so recently both the town and the village moved local laws so that we could use a CCA to identify a default energy provider instead of using Central Hudson as the default energy provider. CCAs, folks always have the option to opt out and choose their own ESCO instead of the default. Right. So what we're going to ask our CCA administrator to do is to create an RFP and go into the market and contact all 70-odd ESCOs who they can buy power from. And the RFP will say, we want the cleanest power possible, and then we'll get prices to lock in for a certain amount of time for this default energy purchaser representing all of the homes that qualify in both the town and the village to purchase power from. And then we're also going to have, and we can call this a few different things, I was referring to as opposed to an opt-out, but an opt-over. If someone wanted to still take advantage of this buying club, because the CCA is essentially just a buying club, like you're pooling demand. So this buying club could also have the option to buy the cheapest power available. And our anticipation and hope is that moving forward, the greenest power will be the cheapest power. But we think it's valuable to have both options available to community members. But the default for anyone is everyone will automatically be rolled into the greenest power possible if you're currently using Central Hudson. And if you are in an ESCO now, like if you're already in Green Mountain, you could stay there, or once your contract runs out, then you can opt into our ESCO. We're anticipating that our purchase of electricity will definitely be cheaper than even the greenest ESCOs that people are using currently.
So, yeah, so would they use the total month average for Central Hudson in charge of their energy supply, and then part of their RP is that the companies have to be better. Whether they're green or not, they're better. So that's the volume part. But we won't know exactly what those numbers are until we start to have they
But we do have numbers that were provided to us by both of these CCA administrators when they've gone into the market recently on behalf of other communities, and they've been able to buy both the cheapest power possible and the greenest power possible for less than 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah. Less than Central Hudson's and definitely less than any green ESCO.
Where I didn't understand you, Tim, was when you said they're gonna, sort of, does the CCA administrator come back to the town and village and say, here's a pricing, here's what we've been able to negotiate, now
Yep.
we choose?
So this is how I like to compare this. So we recently created a law that required everyone in our community to use a single garbage company. So we didn't have a single hauler administrator. The boards were the administrator. So in this situation, the Public Service Commission is basically saying you need an administrator to help you implement your project, communicate with your residents. So that's a big function that the CCA administrator fulfills, in addition to writing an RFP and going to the market and asking ESCOs to bid.
And could you just clarify your point on if they're gonna be getting the greenest energy, which we're kind of like mandating them to come with the greenest energy possible? You also said, and the cheapest energy possible, to bring both of those options to the table so that we can see what they are? Is that largely just a discovery method,
Nope.
or?
And then people can choose those once they have the choice, when they opt in.
No, right. No one's
No.
opting in. No one's
No, no,
opting
Not
in.
No,
there yet.
what-
I think
what-
it's before we get there.
Yeah, but before we get there, but then eventually, once we have the plans, people can choose between those options, right?
No.
Right, your
no.
question,
It's really important. No one is
Yes.
choosing anything.
The default is,
The default is you
is
don't
the green.
choose, you sit back.
The default.
And you are.
But if
Whatever you
I,
choose.
if I decide to opt into the CCA,
You don't have a choice.
You don't have
there
it.
is, no,
if,
because
if,
you're.
You can only
if,
opt
if
out.
I'm in an ESCO right now,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I decide to opt into the CCA, I can pick
You're gonna automatically.
automatically, but can I contact them and say, I want the brown one?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
When I decide to opt in, I can choose green or brown.
I was just like, when you were talking about people choosing, the vast majority of people
The
are
vast
not
majority
choosing
will not.
anything, because the vast majority of people do not use an ESCO.
But-
They use Central Hudson.
And they will automatically
for their
get
power
the green,
generation.
they
Yes.
will automatically get the green choice, because that's what we're mandating.
Yes.
Yes.
Although anyone who at that point could say, there'll be some discovery, they will be able to see the different prices, and if they want, at that point, they could say, you know, this is a great, I'm so glad that we're buying this power, and I want the brown choice.
Yeah.
If they wanted
Yes.
to, they could.
So the
at
way
that
it, the
point.
way it generally works with CCAs is most people just take the default. Very few people opt out. Very few people opt over. So another benefit to doing this is by having a default green option, we're also then eligible for additional climate smart points.
Huh.
The other thing is this, the other thing about this rate is that it will be for a fixed period of time. I think this, the lease they do is about 16 months, 24, even 36 months. So that will be something the town can decide what the period will be, but then the rate is fixed for that amount of time. So even though Central Hudson's rates go up and down monthly for sure, this will be a fixed amount regardless of the season or whatever is happening.
And-
So there's a whole lot of parts to this.
Yeah.
It's actually quite complicated. So, and the good thing is that the towns and the village are not having to sign a contract for money. They're not providing any money for this. The administrator charges a fraction of a cent of fee that the supplier pays. It probably is baked into that rate. That rate still has to be registered by the 2013. So if they don't get the rates that we want, we don't sign a contract, we wait until we can review. It's a lot of moving, so the Public Service Commission says, first of all, they have to come to work with us for a 60-day period to inform public information, where does the CCA, how does it work, all these kinds of questions. And then they put together an implementation plan that they have to sign, with the PSC to be reviewed. Your attorney should start looking at those soon, because there's quite a big increase in the so they just kind of get used to what these implementation plans look like, because you guys are gonna have to.
If you make this resolution tonight, and the town and the board, the town and the village both do, what's the timeline of the next steps?
The next steps start the 60-day clock of getting the public information out there. The administrator works with the town. They have 2 public meetings between the town and the village and public vending, as well as there'll be media, there'll be online stuff, there'll be.
And the committee, I don't mean to interrupt, but the committee's all set to produce this. The information piece to me is vital, that people understand that they will have to choose, they will then have to choose Central Hudson. They want Central Hudson, they will have to choose
Yeah,
Central
you would have
Hudson.
to, you could still choose Central Hudson. You could opt out of the CCA
Right.
and then go
Yeah,
select Central
yeah, to
Hudson.
me, that's where residents are gonna.
I think another
gonna be
really
upset.
important point, and this is something that a few of us on the committee, I feel like Amanda and I shared this point of view. So hiring a CCA administrator is a professional service, which you generally don't, per our procurement policy, you don't need to bid that out.
No.
But we don't want to do things that way. We would prefer to bid things out. And there's an existing conglomerate that's using Joule as a CCA. So what we're doing is we're technically piggybacking on that RFP that the city of Poughkeepsie put out. And they use that RFP to select Joule. But again, we weren't even comfortable with that. We met with the council person from the city of Poughkeepsie who sponsored it and was just an amazing resource as
Yeah,
far as
shout out to
information.
Sarah Salem,
And that personally really got me comfortable with the idea of piggybacking on the city of Poughkeepsie's RFP to use Joule.
But don't think that our little volunteer citizens committee is creating all this information. That is this administrative job to provide all the stuff that's gonna, they're gonna have the, everything we need to do this. We just have to set up time and date of this.
And they're also taking direction from the New York State Public Service Commission, so that implementation package, that's all, those are all documents that were created by the Public Service Commission. And approved, and then they will look at ours to make sure that we are following.
Is that part of the committee's, does the committee feel like was partly responsible for making sure, like, not just the CCA administrator is coming and doing those meetings, but that we know how our people get information or don't get information? A lot of people feel like, I never knew, that's what you hear mostly is I never knew. So how, that we're strategizing on making sure we've given you every opportunity to see this.
One of the first things they ask us are, who are all the stakeholders in town? Where are all the different groups?
Great.
So we need to tell them, contact Chamber of Commerce, every place
Great.
that they contact, they ask them, they know who they talk to.
Yep. Yep. Great. I'm glad.
I got a couple of clarifications. For some reason, I had in my mind that this was going to lead to 100% pure green energy. And maybe I wasn't paying attention. I'm hearing tonight the greenest energy, as green as possible, and green, that was what Tim said. And that suggests to me that it's less than 100% green. Can you clarify that?
We made it very clear to me that that is our goal, and in New York State, the goal is 100% renewable station. In Fog Option, they are the project New York State suppliers for that.
Yeah, it will be.
And that's objectionable?
No, I'm just saying,
Oh.
I think that's a plus.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we know where it's coming from.
It'll be locally sourced green generation.
So the,
100%.
that's just to clarify, so it's not, as you said before, as clean as possible, it is 100% clean.
Yes.
Great, okay, that takes care of that one. And the other is, who's the decision maker? Tim used the analogy of an administrator, and that would suggest to me that Jewel is the decision maker.
Jules gonna go to the market, get the prices, they're gonna come back to us, and then we're gonna
And
decide
then we
whether.
decide
So
as
we,
boards.
we are the ones
We
that
decide,
decide,
yeah.
not the administrator.
But we decide as boards.
Okay, that's cool.
Hard to understand this, they are they're doing pre-screening and all of these, they will come back with, there's a memorandum of understanding that have to be signed, one by the town, one by the village. This will lay out all the requirements we have, so it's 100% green, it's gonna be for how many months, it's gotta be this, this rate transfer. But once you sign that, because these rates change by the day, so when they get one that meets all those requirements, it's gonna be hand-signed in 24 hours. So it's kind of like you're gonna pre-sign that, so the memorandum of understanding, make sure the attorney's not one, because
And then we'll just, we'll mandate.
But we set the
We'll-
terms.
We'll mandate.
The
Neil
board
to-
set the
Neil to
terms,
sign
and
on
then when
that.
they meet them,
it's on.
Yeah,
I only
yeah.
asked the question because of what I was hearing, the analogy about administrators that make the decisions, and they're the
No,
administrators.
so the MOU will mirror the RFP. The RFP will say, we want this kind of power, and then the MOU will say, if you get that kind of power, go.
Mhm. And then once they jump on that, boom, as you said, and then that's what gets locked in for that period of 16 or 24 or longer.
So then, right, and then what happens, there's a 30-day period where everyone sort of gets this letter going, congratulations, and what you're getting, and provides them with multiple ways to opt out or opt over, by online, by phone, or this postcard. I mean, it will be very, very clear for every household and small business that qualifies. The other thing is, larger commercial accounts, local government accounts, school district, you can always do this and decide if you want to opt in. They do have different rates than the residential and small businesses, so you have to look at your rates versus what that is, decide, what you have to do, which will go.
So you were mentioning, Amanda, about them looking for all the chambers and other organizations to get the message out. Do they not send a letter to each and every household in the town?
So they.
Then you know you got everybody. You're not
So
relying
it's
on
not
third
just-
parties.
Right, so, but I guess, actually I'll go back and check, but we know exactly there's 3,500 accounts that are eligible in
3,500 letters would seem one way to be assured of hitting
We did see the
everybody.
letter from Poughkeepsie, that's just one small part of the outreach, that's not.
Oh, so there is a letter, but it's
Yes.
additional to that. Oh,
Yes.
excellent, yes, thanks.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
Right.
just let everybody know. There also is, there's a data protection plan, there's a privacy, they have to have, the administrator has to also file this with the Public Service Commission, that we have a legal. So they will be knowing from Central Hudson what different accounts are, who they are, how much of that, and that has to be protected if they're private, so because they have to.
Sure. Great.
I would like to move on this resolution.
I have just one question. I think there's local Ulster counties, just, this is the.
It's called Hudson Valley Community Power. So it's the city of Poughkeepsie, Beacon, Redmond.
And they use Jewel as their administrator, and
They're
we're
going
gonna.
Marlton.
Marlton,
They're
yeah.
live on July 1, so they're in Jewel.
But they'll have an identical experience to us, but their rate may be different, because they'll have gone to the market at a different time. Ours could be better, it could be worse, we don't know, until we go into the market.
Do you know how long it took for them
So what we know is it will take about 5 or 6 months, because there's built-in times that 60-day period has to happen. Once we have done all that outreach, and some have to apply from us, then they can take that to Public Service Commission, say they have, they'll be part of the outreach information or information session. So Public Service Commission has seen this one, just did it, so the auditor
I think they passed their law, like Marbletown, they passed their law in like December or January.
Just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the Beacon, I think, they were ready to go in 2016.
Yeah, Sarah said there was quite a range in
Yeah.
the time, depending on, when you enter matters,
Yeah. Marbletown just jumped on it.
Because it's about volume
Yeah.
and scale, right? So,
Not necessarily.
well, part of that is, so it's like cobbling together municipalities. So like if you come on the end of that, it'll be a quicker process than if you're one of the ones that started.
Sure.
There's a chance we might get the feedback on theirs, or we might just have we'll see.
More about.
Just because we know what the rate is.
In theory, it's just the volume,
But
you're
that's-
adding scale, so.
That contract's been signed,
Yeah.
that number, so if we add on, they may say, hey,
The
We're
sup-
gonna ask
the-
the ESCO.
The suppliers may say, yeah, we'll give you more power.
But can we break it up?
So you guys have a motion on the table?
Second. So I guess the motion would be to sign, we're gonna have like the formal written resolution. I think it will just have, any, official language that we need referencing the town law. We don't have the one that Ariana sent. But the motion.
You should though, but it's so Amanda and Ariana worked on it, it's basically a template that other communities use.
Yeah. So the motion should be that, authorize me to sign this resolution template.
That's my motion, for Neil to be able to sign that template on behalf of the
Can
town.
you call the question?
And you were seconding it?
That's my motion.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to move the resolution? All in favor? Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks,
you,
Amanda.
Thank you so much,
It's been a
Amanda,
lot of
and,
work.
Thanks to everybody on the committee.
And this whole committee, really great work.
So this next one is, kind of added this today, but this is a joint resolution. It's in support of Ulster County Legislature Resolution 229, if people are kind of up on this. So this is, pardon? So the town, it's not a memorializing resolution, it's the real deal. So the town of Red Hook and the town of Warwick, they have real estate transfer taxes. And we've talked about this in the past. For a long time now, there has been basically a moratorium on towns being allowed to have real estate transfer taxes because you need legislation from the state senate and the assembly. The state senate and assembly majorities have changed. The Senate has, and so Orange County is asking the state Senate and the Assembly for a county-wide enabling legislation to let any town or village within Orange County to have a voter referendum to get a real estate transfer tax in their municipality. The voters would decide on it, and that would then be used for open space preservation. And so I was talking to our Ulster County legislator rep, Jim DeLon, who works for Orange County Land Trust, and he thinks this is a good thing. And I said, well, would you be willing to have pass the same sort of resolution in Ulster County? And he said he would, and that's what this resolution is for. Jim and I also met with Senator Metzger, and we've reached out to Assemblyman Cahill, and they would be willing to carry the Ulster County resolution and put it forward in the Assembly and the Senate. And so basically we would be doing the same thing, maybe, and I think Jen is actually carrying the one for Orange County. And so we were trying to get them through at the same time. It may make it through this session, it may not. But what this does is it allows the municipalities to decide for themselves, and not the state Senate and Assembly to not give us the opportunity to let our own voters decide.
Right, so you still need to do the vote, you just don't have to go through as much bureaucracy as the state to get there.
Yes, right.
But the transfer tax can only be used for open space purchases?
I think so, yeah.
What about,
I was gonna say, Kara's here, ask her.
what about historic preservation? Because I believe the town of Red Hook has historic preservation.
I think you might have to
We're
set
gonna get a
that.
bunch of
I
pushback
think
that
it- I
everyone
think-
wants this money.
Yeah.
Everyone's
I think
gonna want
Red
to
Hook
use this money.
And Red Hook also says farmland preservation, right?
Yeah, so I think that would be up to the separate municipalities to decide, and we can find out what that is. The first step is just saying, well, the state gives us the right to, at a local level, for our voters to decide whether they want this.
I think important for our residents to understand is that this is a tax, but it's not a tax that any present resident would pay unless they are transferring as a buyer.
Yeah, and it's
And we'd have to go to vote, it has to.
Has to
Oh,
go
absolutely.
Barely pass it.
And
Yeah.
it's not on every transfer. You set it at, the certain,
Above a certain.
threshold, above the median, or median plus a certain percentage, so. But, to kind of remind people here, the difference between, New Paltz, a few years ago, we passed a referendum for open space bond for, I think, 1.2 million. 2 million? And so we've used a good portion of that. So the voters in New Paltz decided we want to open space. They did that. We've spent that, but when we spend that, it goes against the tax levy, and it raises taxes for everyone. And with the tax cap, it gets harder and harder to do that. The town of Red Hook, they did this, maybe 10 years ago. They now, instead of having borrowed $1 million, they have $1 million still in their fund, waiting and available for when they want to preserve open space, or to buy easements for farms like we did with Telefero recently. So that's the difference. It makes long-term planning, and it allows you to act quicker for preservation. So this is a joint resolution in support of the Ulster County resolution, and we're then sending it to Senator Metzger and Assemblyman Cahill, saying that we're in support of this as town and village boards. And then the real outreach begins. This is not something that I think that towns can or should do overnight. There's a lot of outreach to get the voters to buy in to agree on this referendum, because it's not a simple thing. So this would probably take us another year plus to before we were able to do it, but this is the first step. So
I'll move it for the vote.
I'll move it for the
I
10th.
don't even know what it's for. I don't know what you're using the money for.
All this is
I
doing
understand,
is
I've heard.
allowing municipalities to send it to referendum. It's not
And when you
saying
send
that
it
you
to
have
referendum-
But are you only using the money for open space? Are you using the money for historic preservation?
That gets specified
Could we
in the
use the
bond
money
vote.
for volunteer fire department, service award programs? what are we using the money for?
That's what
Local
the,
designation.
Traditionally, okay.
but that's what would be on the referendum, you know, and maybe some things are allowed, some things aren't allowed, but you can decide that when you put it up for vote or referendum,
Based on language.
based on what's
But I don't
allowed.
know. I think Tim's question is how constrained is that language? I don't know the answer, I don't know what it's been used for.
Yeah, I would rather do
Comfortable.
something to protect as many taxpayers as possible.
The taxpayers get to.
Not just
opt in.
automatically support wealthy people who have open space property to sell.
I disagree with that crude characterization of what we do.
So, I move it for the town.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Village, you got,
I don't think we have votes.
all right.
Then, Mike, can I do a follow-up question, please?
Yeah.
This was going to be something that was joint between the town and the
No,
village?
it can be a town
Can we
one.
do it separately?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
You
So-
can be our overlords and impose it on us.
We would probably then just get your transfer of tax, so.
Nice move,
Uh,
That could be a motivator.
The village didn't do that.
Yeah, we used our general fund to buy them.
So this is now,
That is accurate.
this is up to you guys. Now, I'm handing the agenda over to you for the rest of your village board.
Okay, so, I wanna see if we can have Rick Alfondre take a closer look at the plans to construct a new fire station, see if it can be made more energy efficient or green. It's a fantastic plan as far as a plan to construct a fire station, but, I just wish it was designed with an eye towards making it greener, and I'd like to move that we spend up to $5,000 for Rick Alfondre's team to perform a peer review on the plans, and then to meet with the architect from H2M to design it, before we come up with final bid docs to go out to bid again this fall to have this fire station constructed. I think it's money well spent.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. I move bills and claims for the village.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so we can have, I didn't think that was gonna take that long, Jason, I'm sorry. I would have moved it right then. I thought we had 3 quick things, but it was a long time, so why don't we set the projectors up?
You know, somehow I think I've been there.
I think he knows.
So, your projector between Mike and I couldn't find it. I didn't even know it should be in a house in it, but I have tiles and
You
this
don't have
is,
the, do you have the projector here?
I have tiles projector and I have this, which works with his computer, which is a Mac.
There's a different one there, different
She
white
took her
one in
computer.
the front pocket.
You need the
I know,
adapter?
But I have this adapter, so that worked
Seems
with,
like it might.
and I have a projector too, and,
Oh, you got the projector?
yeah, I do. I have a projector, but it's not yours.
Oh, okay, different projector.
It's just, I didn't go home since after you asked,
Okay,
and,
that's fine.
and then Mike
Oh,
was making
sorry,
home
I
customers.
closed just
We're
the
very
shutter
confused.
thingy.
For why we couldn't find it. But I just didn't have enough time to get
That's
a
fine.
good look.
I think we don't have the right cord for this projector anyway. It's the type of cord that
So
hooks
this,
up.
that projector works with this projector. I'm sorry, that cord works with this projector.
Yeah, the other adapter I had was for a monitor plug.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like the whole 12 pin plugs. And so that's what we had in the other projector. But if his works, it seems to work. So it doesn't. Great choice. The other cord we have wouldn't work with this projector. So
Uh-huh.
it's perfect. We are set.
Amanda, are you impressed this projector works?
you want some lights, Jason?
Huh?
What lights? One
I can turn
set of
them
lights? Let me go get.
Check.
I'll try this. Is that okay?
I don't get my notes, I can't figure out how to use this thing.
I think I'm all set.
Good.
So, thank you all for having me here. For the last 9 months, I've been doing a twin project. On one hand, working on my master's in climate science and policy from Bard, and as my capstone project, undertaking 3 community greenhouse gas emissions inventories for New Paltz. I just want to make sure that people understand there's actually, I'll get to this in a moment, there's 5 inventories that have been done overall, 2 done by Amanda. National Climate Assessment. The higher scenario on the right is actually more likely than this, the two nothing scenario. This is the scenario that's happening now. Which would lead to a 10-degree increase in annual average temperature in New York State by 2080. That temperature increase causes a problem on its own, obviously, heat waves, the urban heat island effect that village temperature spike, the countryside, health problems, etc. It's also going to bring in up to 20% increase in precipitation levels in New York State. And these are not going to come in nice, even summer rains. It's going to come in torrential downpours, more hurricanes, more devastating storms, punctuated by periods of drought. New Paltz actually has a history of climate organizing. KT, wherever she went, was instrumental in Greenworks from 2004 to 2008. And many of you know the Climate Action Coalition, been in existence since 2009. But in the past few years, I probably don't have to tell you, but just something rounded out, New Paltz is already planning for climate change. We've done 5 inventories, we're in the midst of a resiliency plan, an adaptation plan, and then taking all this data and inform a community stakeholder-driven climate action plan, which again is going to be run by Janelle and Amanda, I believe, not to tell us those less Amanda. These inventories are a map of where the emissions are coming from and how much we're emitting, obviously. They set a baseline to measure against, to measure our not only our emissions but our reductions against. And for lack of a better metric, I've been using in my work the IPCC's, the UN premier climate change body, the IPCC's goal of a 45% reduction by 2030. They also then claim that we need to eliminate emissions altogether by 2080 to avoid catastrophic climate change. And by catastrophic, one article, as you might have seen in the papers recently, came out of the Australian National Climate Change Institute, which says it's entirely possible that human civilization itself may collapse by 2050. And these are not people who are prone to hysterics, former naval officers, economists, etc. Here's what we're dealing with in New Paltz. The community of New Paltz generates 120,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent every year. And by carbon dioxide equivalent, methane, for example, is another greenhouse gas. It's 30 times as strong as carbon dioxide. So you level them all out with the common denominator, convert everything to carbon dioxide equivalent, and metric tons is the industry standard. I don't know the conversion to US tons off the top of my head, but you get the gist. This, however, 120,000 includes the New York State Thruway, which DEC required that I put in these inventories for the town and village. If you take the Thruway out, as I think there's a good argument to do, we end up with 66,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Thruway is an enormous amount of the emissions coming off of New Paltz. Now, if we want to use the IPCC's number of how much we need to reduce, a 45% reduction is about 30,000 tons a year is what we need to by in the next 10 years is the goal set for us by the IPCC. So how do we make sense of these numbers? These are abstract, traction here yet. Well, one obvious thing that we're doing that might climate change is looking at trees. So if you do a rough back example of calculation, we want to reduce our 66,000 metric tons by 25% in the next 10 years. We need about 100 at a cost roughly of $500 because what this number is
That's reasonable.
Solar is another thing people think of when you want to fight climate change. Here we have the Water Street Market barn installed by Lighthouse Solar. And Lighthouse Solar is where I got the following numbers from. If we wanted to install solar panels to deal with 45% of our 66,000 metric tons, we're looking at 160,000 solar panels. By comparison, that's 81 solar panels in the picture, so you can get a sense of how big we're talking, at a rough cost of $65 million. How does it break down for our community, though? I don't know if people can see this very well, but I'll just tell you the big slices here. The peach on the left is the non-throughway traffic, 48% of the emissions in New Paltz. This is the town and village combined. The blue on the right is throughway traffic. You can see what a huge percentage of emissions the throughway alone causes. Residential energy, surprisingly, only 6% of our emissions. But the bottom line is that 92% of this community's emissions come from traffic, with the other 6% coming from residential energy. To me, that says that, at least in New Paltz, that climate change is a land use issue. In the town outside the village, as you'd expect, the traffic emissions go up even higher because it just takes longer and there's more asphalt to get anywhere. It takes more emissions to get from place to place. In the village, you see residential energy jumps up to 20%. It's a highly mobile community. Half the village population obviously lives in the dorms, which is very pedestrian oriented when you're measuring these things. Aspects of emissions like commercial energy, water and wastewater, and solid waste have just kind of smaller slices of the pie that add up to just a few percentage points. So where are people driving? 92% of traffic emissions are outside the village. Only 8% of the driving in this community happens in the 2 square miles of the village. The other 92% happens in the 30 square miles of the town. These are all rounded rough figures. Now, if you take out transportation, what does the energy portfolio look like, or the emissions portfolio look like? Obviously, residential energy dominates, but you can start to see where water and wastewater takes up more than solid waste, and you can see some of the smaller particulars of the energy and emissions profile of the community. So, just to take a breath after those charts and remind ourselves what we're dealing with, what it all adds up again to again is 120,000 metric tons, 66,000 if you don't count I-87. So, what can we do about this? One low-hanging fruit might be to organize some lobbying at the community level. You were talking about setting up another commissioner board earlier tonight. It might be a good use of resources to methodically develop a New Paltz climate legislative program, maybe in Ulster County, a multi-municipal program, and spend the time lobbying Kevin Cahill and John Bonisic, Jen Metzger, who are already obviously supportive of the measures we might bring to. Another low-hanging fruit is to re-examine the 2007 Transportation and Land Use Study. For those of you who weren't around for this was a $500,000 DOT-funded effort at the turn of the century to deal not with climate change, but with traffic congestion. But a lot of the traffic congestion policy recommendations will kind of have co-benefit, the co-benefit of reducing climate emissions. For example, where we build, and again, climate change is a land use issue here. On the left, you'll see, if you can see the pale outlines, you see the town of New Paltz. The green area is where the community and a series of charrettes decided we don't want to build at all. We want to do our best to preserve these areas. And then the cross-hatching around the village is where we should have development. So at least 12 years ago, the community was saying, let's preserve a whole chunk of the community and build where we already have an urban core. On the right, you see from the same study specific areas in and around the village that were identified as priority growth districts. High-density mixed-use development lowers emissions. John Nolan, a professor at Pace University Land Use Law Center, actually estimated that a high-density traditional neighborhood resident drives 20 to 40% less, depending on various factors. But dusting off this study is another low-hanging fruit that we could start now. And finally, supporting the New Paltz Climate Action Plan process, which is coming as part of this New York State Climate Smart Communities grant. This is where the town and village board specifically can play a huge role, because the legitimacy of elected officials actively participating, either singly or as a group, in these kinds of commissions can raise the profile, can be an easier conduit for future resources, and can can increase morale for those participating. But doing everything that you can to plan out in the stakeholder-driven process what the community wants to do with these numbers. You know, I can provide, and the data is available through the town if anyone wants to check the raw data. Neil and Kathy have access to that. But knowing that we have 66,000 tons of emissions that are our fault, and that to survive, possibly to survive as a species, we need to lower that by at least half in the next 10 years. Well, what's that cliche? All of us are smarter than any one of us. So having a robust stakeholder-driven process to come up with the solutions that are proportionate to the scale of the problem is going to be critical, not only for our own future, but for the future of communities, many of whom surround us, who will never lift a finger to deal with this issue. So thank you. It's been a pleasure working on this, and anyone have any questions, I'll happily answer them.
Awesome.
No?
So
Great.
So, I don't know, you played the wedge game.
Yes.
And for people who have not played the wedge game, it's a fun exercise, right? And it's a way that they teach people about, you know, the different ways that you have to, the strategies that you have to take to get these solutions. And I think of this is somewhat similar to the wedge game, and you think, oh, well, we're going to do a CCA, so that's going to help us a lot. And we're going to put some solar panels on, and that might help us. But I think when, you know, Jason presents the numbers, you know, 1.4 million trees or 160,000 solar panels, we have to do everything, or we still may not get there. So I think, you know, we have to do the CCA. We have to plant more trees. We have to, you know, to not to argue with Tim again about this, but preserving open space is not about just rich people. It's about reducing and increasing our carbon uptake and reducing our greenhouse gases. And you can preserve open space if you have money and address climate change at the same time. So that's part of it. We have to do all of these things. So.
It just seems to me that it is about transportation issues in town, and we talked in the past about, you know, heard him and others say that let's not make it so easy on the cars. Why are we making it so easy for people to travel through town here and to shopping? I know when we go shopping, we have to get what we have to get in town. It's like 5 stops. It's like start and stop 4 or 5 times to get what we have to get done. And how do we change the way we do our errands in this town? We, you know, meet our needs, food, whatever we need. How do we make that? How do we change that paradigm? Something we're all really used to, the convenience of. Hey, there's a parking spot wherever I go, and that's working for me. You know.
And so one of the things that transportation study references is the NBR, right? That the NBR should be zoned to be an NBR and built out. And they also mention the rezoning that we're doing as part of the Gateway project, the mixed use, you know, high density in that part of town. We didn't come up with those ideas. These ideas were put forward 10 years ago now, more than that. And so I think our responsibility as boards is to have good zoning, and when we can, you know, better bike ped facilities so people don't just jump in their car, make parking harder, or maybe have meters, right, for turnover.
Or have more parking, but not in places where it causes trouble. Put the parking where it belongs, and the other areas pedestrian and bike friendly.
Yeah, you mentioned zoning, and I think you can do it through zoning, and you could have certain zones where you can reassess properties, collect less in taxes, but not completely forfeit the ability to collect taxes. And this way, you're not at the risk of having the municipality overpay for open space with big funds.
Can you just be more specific? Just give an example.
Reduce taxes on a property that should be protected open space. And this way, the owner of the property can afford to hang on to it.
We already do that, right? If you look at the open space big parcels are taxed not as, buildable lots, right? The tax rate per acre is much lower for large open space, and a lot of it is called like wasteland and things like that. So there is already, that is already the case for
Right. But
a
I've just
big
seen,
part.
I feel too many times where properties are.
The problem
we're
is there's
paying
no.
premiums for properties that are essentially undevelopable. There's a better way to use
But
taxpayer assets.
there has to be some sort of long-term protection in there.
But you can get that without overpaying for properties.
Just to jump in if you don't mind. The one thing, when I started this project, I was convinced that it was just a matter of the wedge game. The right suite of policies was something New Paltz could pull together to become carbon neutral, or maybe even a carbon sink, to make up for Lloyd or Shangam, who don't want to deal with the issue necessarily. But the one thing that shocked me in my work was how out of scale this problem is to the resources of even this relatively wealthy community. That we need help. We cannot do this alone. We could have all the best practices in parking that we want. We could have the entire population living in high density urban traditional neighborhoods, and we may not get there anyway. We don't have the resources to require that every gas station has an electric vehicle pump, or that the fleets are so that to encourage electric vehicle fleet turnover in the next 10 years. The things that Albany and Washington can do, and I think it's just a matter of, I just want to reiterate that I think it's a matter of asking in a more organized fashion for what we know we need.
So what is the ask?
Well, I think that's what was going to come out of this climate action plan, in part, is we need a suite of legislative solutions. So I think CCAs are brilliant, and I'm so thankful that these boards are doing that. I think that the fleet maintenance, the fleet makeup issue that maybe Washington is alone could deal with, setting market, I'm sorry, it's been a long day, setting incentives for people to buy electric vehicles over gasoline-powered vehicles over the next few years, things like that. There's tax rebates that the state can give that the village and town can't. I don't know. This
Well,
is
like,
where
what's an example?
this is
You're
where
Talking about
my
lobbying,
research
doing a
comes to
lobby,
the end.
using that muscle outside of our own.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about using our muscle outside of our own community.
Yeah, and maybe getting Gardner and Rosendale and Esopus to help you with it.
I mean, better public transportation.
I understand.
Better public transportation is one way. If 92% of our emissions are from transportation, how can you change people's transportation choices? You can make it easier for them to pick a different type of vehicle, or make it easier for them to take a different form of transportation, be it bicycling, walking, carpooling, or public transportation. When gas prices went up back in 2006, when did they spiked, right? But when vehicle miles traveled had been going up, like this for the last 70 years. The first time they ever went down was when gas prices went up to $4 or $5 a gallon back in 2005 or 6 or something. And that's because people suddenly they changed their habits by carpooling. People I knew who never carpooled in life suddenly were carpooling when gas doubled in price. They also changed what they call they call it trip chaining. So instead of going out one night and getting a loaf of bread, and then the next night, I think I'll go to the movies, and or maybe I'll go out to get some cereal. They did all their errands at once, and they reduced their trip.
So I think what you're describing, though, are just a tax on gasoline.
No, that would be one thing, but it's how do you change behaviors, and do you incentivize those behaviors through making electric vehicles cheaper, or do you change the gas tax?
There is no or. There doesn't have to be an
Yeah.
or. You
Yeah,
do
there-
ends. And this,
Yeah,
and
but
this,
they're
and
not
this,
things that
and
we can do. Those
So
are
my
things.
question
Right.
is, my question is, those things have to happen anyway, but we have to model that here in our own community.
It's both and.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like what
More
Neil-
bike lanes is great. you know, but we also need the federal action to, for what Neil was saying, shape the market.
Yeah, I feel like what Neil is saying is like New York State could do it. Like, why doesn't New York State just increase the gas tax?
Yeah, it used to be cheaper in Jersey, now gas isn't cheaper, it's up because they just increased it.
Well,
But yeah,
But that's, again, a conversation with Kevin Cahill and Jen
That,
Metzger.
that, like,
Right.
why isn't that the ask? That's
It
a
can be.
simple
It-
ask.
it can
maybe
be.
it is.
Or
Like,
one of
fight
the many
climate
asks.
change, make gas more expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everyone has to, it's like,
Well,
it
that's
becomes
why
like
they
you
killed
get in
the
car, it's
electric
gonna
car
cost
and
you
why
a
it's
ton of money.
taking so long.
yeah, I mean, I think.
Cafe standards are another, but we are in an environment now where they're being allowed to go the wrong direction. Manufacturers aren't needing to achieve as many miles per gallon when if whereas it had been constantly setting a higher standard for miles per gallon, that would help also. But we don't have any control over that.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, so I think
Locally.
what it'll be is like, look at the data that Jason and they pulled together, then come up with a climate action plan, and then what are the plans that, or the asks that will help us get there. And we don't know them all here, but I think they'll come out as we move forward with this.
As long as that process is, you know, broad, robust, you know, something hopefully people get excited about, that a lot of people turn out for. It's just more fun when there's 50 people in the room, 6 working on a project, right?
Amanda has a question.
Yeah, Amanda.
Is new transportation, not just residences, but also,
That's, yeah, the transportation data was based on total vehicle miles traveled within the boundaries of New Paltz, which is, the DOT collects that data and you can get it from them pretty easily.
Which would include Pepsi trucks bringing Pepsis to the Rite Aid and whatnot.
Yeah, it'd include that, it would include everyone who's just
Everyone
driving
that
from
drives to
Poughkeepsie to
Mohonk,
Mohonk,
yeah.
you know, it
I
includes
mean,
all that.
it also includes, I don't know the exact number, but I think a pretty good percentage of the population in Ulster County leaves Ulster County to go to work every day. Right, so, one thing you could do is create more good paying local jobs so people don't have to travel as far. Right, so that, those are things that you can work on and ask for.
Or
You
give
must have read
jobs to
our
local
DRI
people.
application.
Yeah, like, so you could include that in a DRI, 30 jobs where people don't have to drive to, out of the county. They could maybe be here in Newport.
Hamlet subdivision, not Hamlet subdivisions, Hamlet redevelopment. Ohio Town used to be a thriving little village of its own, which was called Helltown at first, but
Is
changed
that
the name for
in
some
your
reason.
gateway redistricting?
No, it's
Okay.
Ohio
Is it?
Town.
Ohio, is it?
Yeah, we don't call it Helltown. No.
Did the max, just out of curiosity, parking spot thing make it through the gateway zoning, going to parking maximums as opposed to minimums?
I don't recall. Well, we're still working on it.
I'll look
I
at
think
that.
it's still like being
That's
revised.
the trend.
Yeah. So,
Thank you all.
thanks.
Jason.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jason.
Thank you.
You guys are done?
We're not on the table.
I think it'd be.
We're gonna take a 3-minute break while we break this down.
I was just gonna say, I'm curious, so it sounds like we are interested in a
So I'd like to make a motion to approve and authorize items 1A through 1H on the consent agenda.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
So now let's move on to the RFP, soliciting proposals for a solar development on the town landfill. I'd like to hand it over to, who's driving?
Marty.
Well, from the board, I'm the contact, but it's really Kara and Ted that have brought it all together. Kara.
Okay, well, so there's been a lot of conversation tonight about energy, and we're here really tonight to talk about the work we have been doing to increase the use of solar energy in New Paltz. And you may recall that the town board last December passed a resolution to create 2 ad hoc committees, one to address the need for a solar law in New Paltz that would both enable and regulate solar development. So that is in process, and we're coming pretty close to the end of having a draft for that we'll bring to you when it's done. The other committee was charged with looking at the potential of having a solar development on our landfill, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So this is partly an outgrowth of the concept that it makes sense to build solar on previously disturbed land instead of green fields. And so we began to look seriously at the potential for our landfill. So a little background on our landfill. Most of you know it's at Clearwater Road. The property there, which is owned by the town, is 189 acres. And it's used for a lot of different things. There's the BMX track, and there's the transfer station, and the recycling center, and all that stuff. The landfill itself is about 18 acres, and it was closed in 1994 under consent order with DEC, as many other landfills in Ulster County. And the landfill now is maintained and monitored by the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. In 2014, EPA looked at the closed landfills in Ulster County to screen to see which landfills would be suitable or appropriate for solar development. So they looked at the town of Lloyd, the town of New Paltz, and the town of Ulster landfill. Both Lloyd and, the town of Ulster has already built theirs, and the town of Lloyd is moving forward. And so we looked at several different approaches to doing this. We used information that we had from the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, and chose a model which would have the town of New Paltz lease its landfill space to a solar developer who would build and operate and be responsible for the solar facility on the landfill. The benefits of doing this are many. One is that it would generate lease revenue for the town, and we can't say exactly how much that would be at this point, but it would. It would reduce the cost of our municipal use of electricity, potentially, and it also creates the opportunity to provide solar power that's generated locally. So that fits very nicely with the CCA that the town and the village have just created. So in order to do that, we developed a request for proposals. We've met with a developer very early on just to get a sense of whether this was feasible at all, and we definitely got the impression that it was. So we went ahead and produced an RFP, and that we will circulate in order to identify potential developers. We have about 8 to 10 acres available, which we think could generate between 1 and 2 megawatts of power, which could power between 200 and 400 homes.
When? In what period?
In what period? On an ongoing basis.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the other issue always is whether there is access to electrical lines that could take the power. We have a distribution line that runs partway up Horsenden Road, and that the developer we met with looked at that proximity and said that that was probably feasible. So it all looked pretty promising, and now we're at the point where we're ready to go out and test the waters with some developers. And I'm going to turn it over to Ted, who's going to walk you through the RFP a little bit. And I just want to say thank you so much to Marty, who's worked on this this year, Laura Petit, our recycling coordinator, Janelle Piotr, who's our climate action taskmaster. I don't know what to call her exactly. I guess she's the chair of the committee. And Ted, who's lent his engineering expertise and has served on our committee. So do you want to talk about the RFP? Oh, well, Stacy's working on the law. She's been fantastic. Stacy Delareed's been really helpful on the law. Yeah, thank you.
So, again, my name is Ted Nitsa, resident of New Paltz, live over on Manheim Drive. I earlier today I was at the town of Wallkill at their town hall for a client's project, and right there in the lobby they've got a picture of a landfill, their landfill, with solar panels. It was commissioned back in 2016. The before picture is much like the picture we have now, just a green capped landfill. And the facilities they have in place, and it's larger, I mean it's larger than what New Paltz has, but annually produces enough electricity in a renewable way that eliminates 4,500 tons, normal tons, not metric tons, English tons of carbon dioxide each year. So they're effective in the context of reducing greenhouse gases. The request for proposals that was included in your packet has been, it's based on an ICERTA model. We started with, we didn't look to reinvent the wheel, we looked to use something that had been tried and true, had been used before in other similar instances. And then of course we've gone through each of the sections to update it to what we feel is the needs of the New Paltz community. With your permission, the advertising or the distribution would start tomorrow. And we will propose to open bids on July 26th. So a little under 2 months to allow for time to get the word out. The request for proposals itself, it reserves the town's right to select the best proposal, not necessarily the proposal that provides the most revenue or the smallest or the biggest, for that. Again, this is a request for proposal, but they're proposing to us in what the main deliverable is lease fees to the town, along with perhaps other benefits that they would propose along with that. It would be the proposals would be evaluated against each other that are submitted, and the town reserves the right to cancel the RFP altogether if the right proposal is not seen during that time frame. The solar developer would be responsible for the engineering, the maintenance, the permitting, putting the facilities in, and also protecting the landfill at the same time the facilities are put in for that. Insurance too, other liabilities and everything would be with the solar developer as part of this arrangement that we have proposed in the request for proposals. There is an emphasis to use local businesses when possible. That's a statement within the RFP. And the award recommendation, and again, a recommendation, would come from this committee to this board. So the decision-making process is still ultimately in your hands based on a recommendation or the research of the received proposals that would come into the office for us. What we would anticipate is going through a couple of weeks worth of our work, and if we're able to come to a conclusive answer, we would bring that as a recommendation to you guys. But again, the ultimate decision still rides with the town board. Lastly, legal counsel has looked through the request for proposal and given us the green light to present it to you guys for your consideration. It's important to note that the actual test or sample lease agreement that's one of the appendixes has not been reviewed by council yet, but it was deemed that we should wait to see the actual proposals to see what comes in as to what would be altered in that, because that format may not be favorably proposed by the requester. So we want to save that legal time until we actually have something to show them. So the request for proposal itself has been signed off by legal counsel. The last appendix has not, but appropriately so. We've put a lot of work into it. The committee itself, Akara, myself, we do recommend this board approve our ability to submit this request for proposal to the public and get responses back. And we can address any kind of questions or concerns that you might have. Thank you. Yeah.
We're pretty excited to
Yeah,
get
is
it to this
ex-
point.
just-
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And I
yeah.
understand you guys are also gonna volunteer to work on the proposal for storage.
Well, no,
That's the smart answer, I'm sorry.
yeah, you're right. But we are looking at the issue of storage within the context of the law, but, and it's quite possible that a developer will come forward for this proposal with a storage component. We'll see.
Good response.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So it, and I heard this term earlier tonight, it's agnostic. I'm sorry. Sure. If I have the question correct, earlier this evening, we had talked about CCAs for the town and the village. So I believe what the question is there the ability for this project to utilize, directly or otherwise, the CCA benefits or projects? Or said another way, could the energy being generated at this facility be directly tied to what residents within the town and the village would be signing up for as part of the CCA process? Does that sound correct?
So they can be part of the CCA, or if there's something that's outside of CCA, it's called community generated distribution. When people sign on to those plans, they get a 10% discount on their utility rate that can be incorporated in the CCA.
Right, so I mean, but I've got the question correct? Is that, okay. So the request for proposal is open to all of those kind of ideas. It doesn't necessarily exclude or include those concepts.
And I think we'll see what the various developers propose in terms of community use of the electricity or engagement with the CCA. I think we'll see different kinds of proposals.
So there's one thing is if they just able to say I'm 100% renewable energy supplier, then EMS the CCA can take care of the contract. But there's another part where they actually are selling to a community, so
Mhm.
so it's just whether that's like you have all those potential options.
So, yes, there are a lot of different potential options, and it would be great to take advantage of your expertise when we're reviewing the proposals.
So are you gonna have like a public hearing or something on the RFP itself, or just on the proposals? I wasn't sure how to.
Yeah,
The proposals will come back, but this is the RFP. And
Right.
the RFP, my understanding is it leaves all of those options open, and when people respond to the RFP, when those proposals are reviewed, the committee will say, well, this one talks about community distributed
Right.
generation. And the committee may decide to rank that higher.
Right.
If that's something that we want. I think, so it's leaving it open, it's not requiring or saying it's not allowed, but what I have seen, talking to other supervisors, that seems to be a model that's coming up in a lot of these new projects. So it will probably be in it.
I would think so. Yeah.
Are those words in this RFP, community generated power and integration with CCA?
No. It is
Seems like it's
left
should-
open to them.
It allows, but
It-
doesn't
Can you say
obligate.
such as? Can it say such as in the resolution, so that it's clear you're.
I can't remember precisely what the language is, but the language is open to and encourages the developers to propose how
This is the template from NYSERD.
Right,
That
right.
other ones have been using, and that the people who respond to the RFPs are including those things in their responses already. So we're expecting that they will be in there.
Yes, correct.
Do you have any possibility that town facilities and engineers, people directly on town solar grid, they can help with it?
We, the RFP specifically says that that the town is not looking for that as a requirement. But again, it could be proposed as part of the developers. I think one of the goals was to leave it open for the creativity of solar developers out there who know more about what programs are out there, or what overlays, or what advantages could be taken, or what other future markets could be applicable to this particular project. So it could end up in that, but it's not specifically stated.
My understanding is that you get higher lease payment or more electricity.
Right.
And so when you get the responses back, you weigh those different things out with the developers and say, well, maybe I don't want a lease right now, maybe I want guaranteed future electricity. So that's still on the table, but that gets discussed as you get the responses back.
Does your process allow us to speak to someone we're interested in working with and suggest some of these other solutions so that we can say, we love about this idea. We're leaning towards you, but we'd like to look into some of these.
Are you saying share the proposal with a potential developer? Is that what you mean?
I know that if you're moving toward a decision, you're looking for a recommendation that allows us to speak to a bidder about some other suggestions we have that may or may not be considered in their bid.
It's a pretty specific process, and the process which I know Ted has the schedule we put together. Put this out to the public tomorrow, Roseanne takes care of that. And there's a time for which the inspection of the site, everybody wants to. And then there's another deadline where any of the prospective bidders have questions, which could include what you're talking about, they submit them. And then the responses to all of those questions are collected and aggregated and sent out to all of them that have responded, so everybody sees all the questions and all the answers.
So there is an opportunity at that point for us to suggest, hey, make sure you're all looking at all of these options, we're interested in all these possibilities if you're.
That's a Ted question. I don't think we'll do that.
If
somebody asks that question, then the answer to the question certainly would be broad. But I don't think.
I think that the developers are going to be interested in knowing what our preferences are, but I think that they also have their own business models, right? So I think that once we see them, we can have that kind of discussion and have that kind of determination. Yes.
Then when the bids come in, it would be a time when
Conversation, or just have to accept something and stuff.
Right.
Say, we want to initiate a further conversation, we explore some other opportunities.
Definitely.
So it's not just a, you gotta do this or not.
Right.
If we don't like any of them, we reject them all.
Yep. Just to get creative solutions that may not be.
I think this is written to encourage that.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the committee and ask Rosanna to publish the RFP.
Second.
Is that appropriate?
that basically.
That is the resolution.
Verbal.
Discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well done. Great.
All kind of-
I know, all climate all the time.
Yeah.
It's good because
Yeah, no, that's
it all
good.
sort of interlocks.
Yes.
NYSERDA has created a model for batteries for storage. We now have access to the same kind of document from NYSERDA for battery storage that we've had for solar. And there's a presentation happens to be on the 25th.
So this next is in somewhat similar, somewhat different, but this is a request for qualifications. So this is the first step in the bike path on Henry W. Du Bois. Unlike the RFP, all we're doing is we're This is the template that the DOT provided us. We have filled out most of it. I've sent it back to them. They're going to fill in the anticipated dates and how long they think that we should have these things out for. And so my request, motion to the board is that when I hear back from the DOT with what they recommend for the anticipated start dates and everything else, that I be authorized to sign this request for qualifications, and then it gets published in the state bid register, and then in the local New Paltz Times, and then we will get responses back, and then the committee that we're going to appoint later on will rank the different groups, different planners, engineering firms, etc. And that may include interviews and presentations and stuff like that. But this is the first step. We're asking people to tell us their qualifications, and
you're asking to move that forward without the board's further.
Once I hear the rest is just the DOT is going to tell us, what the anticipated start date is, when we can, what the dates because they have a better understanding of that.
You're just waiting for that information and then want to move forward without further discussion of the board.
Yeah.
I second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This next one is, this is the official resolution that we have to send back to the DOT, saying that now, once they've given us the money, we passed a resolution when we applied for the grant saying that we would provide the match. We're now providing them with another resolution saying that now that you've given us the 2.2 million, we will match it with 560,000. We've gotten $75,000 already from Greenway that we would subtract from that. We've been encouraged to ask our senator and assembly members if they'd like to get in on this match. We'll probably do it in the next budget cycle, in January. But the worst case scenario is that we have to come up with 400 and I'm doing the math in my head, 85,000. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can't wait.
We shall see. So the next is the last is the, we'll talk about the trail maintenance after this, but the number 6 is I've been asking around about forming a committee that would be reviewing these proposals, and I have a list of names that I've reached out to each one of these people, and they said they would be thrilled to be on this committee.
Awesome.
If you know some of the names, Gabby O'Shea, she's a cyclist and the bike safety advocate. And Tom Olson, he's on the Historic Preservation Commission. Dan Lipson, who chairs the Bike Ped Committee. Chris White, who New Paltz resident, but he has been the person responsible for most of the county trails. And Thomas Eichelberg, he's a cyclist, and then Susan Blickstein. So they would be the ones that would be like the committee that helps narrow this down.
On who will the planner be and who will the person be?
Yeah.
That person.
Yeah. And so my preference for this is to have a very strong emphasis on safety, and good planning, and I'm hoping that this committee wants that.
One thing, in talking with some residents on H.W. Dubois, some folks are interested in us considering where their driveway is and how much of their, current sort of living space and what they are used to using will be no longer available to them. So, because it matters whether we put it all on one side or whether there's two on each side. One on each side, one lane on each side.
And a lot of that is we're going to ask for different plans.
Yeah.
There's the preferred plan and then preferred alternative plan. And so that's what we're asking for we're hoping that the committee, not the firm that eventually is selected is very good at planning, and we're asking that they have a strong, if you look at the ranking that we put together for the RFQ, we're asking for very experienced firms with bike paths, especially in difficult settings where there are driveways. And so we're hoping for some good innovative designs and not just like cookie cutter rubber stamp stuff.
And the committee, to Julie's point, the committee will reach out to the local community that's most affected by this.
Yeah, and there's gonna be-
invite them into the process of, here are some of our own concerns around this.
We added, where are we here? Where's the RFQ?
I see it.
We added if you look on page, Susan was very concerned about this. Special notes.
The top-ranked firms may be requested to prepare and give oral presentations before the town of New Paltz.
Inspections.
Complete streets.
Well, we added a section in here where we asked for firms. Oh, so the town of New Paltz is seeking an engineering firms and encourages the use of sub-consultants with particular expertise in conducting public outreach, education, and assisting with alternatives analysis for complete street projects. So we made that one of the specific requests, that they're very good at reaching out to the public, because we want to make sure that that's done.
Great.
And so that's part of the selection process too. When we talk to the firms, that will add a lot to their rank. So that's why. So I'd like to make a motion to, Chris, you have?
Can I add my name to that committee that is, ultimately just the road and the construction on it, my responsibility.
Your input will be certainly appreciated. So, but the committee, if you want to sit in on the committee meetings when they pick the consultants, you're more than welcome to.
Be a lot easier to explain water, sewer, all right of ways,
Yeah.
maintenance issues.
I think that makes a lot of sense, that
Mhm.
either as a liaison or as a member of the committee, for Chris to be on it.
Necessarily
Yeah.
liaison or committee, but
You should be informed of those meetings regularly.
Yeah, we'll make sure that,
Town road managers that want to do it.
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
That makes sense. Thanks for offering.
So, make a motion to form this committee?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we
Um,
need to have a motion to identify the members, or was your narrative before sufficient for that?
I have a committee formation resolution
Yes.
So we
with
have
their
to-
names
we
on
have-
it.
We have to move on that
I
as
think
well?
we-
Well, that's what I just moved on.
Yeah.
Oh, that is.
And it identifies, yes, of course.
And so now, this last, well, not last item, but this another item after this, the seeker stuff. But this is, we've been asked by the New York State DOT. They are asking us to take on the, and I have this resolution here, and this is just for discussion tonight. This is, they're asking that we take on, is it the responsibility for maintenance work to the trailway once constructed, includes but not limited to snow removal on the paved surface, as well as mowing and weeding along the trail.
Empire Trail.
Empire
Everywhere in
Trail.
New Paltz?
No,
Empire Trail.
from
Empire
the
Trail.
edge of Lloyd to North Putt.
To North Putt. Oh, but not along North Putt, Henry W., and across to the rail trail?
We've already, we agreed to take on the ongoing painting of Henry W. last year. But that's all we agreed to repaint those lines at some point. This is for the section along 299. And I wanted to show this to the board and ask the board members to go out there and walk the trail and look at it and talk to Chris and have Chris's input. And at the next meeting that we will discuss it.
So tonight's no discussion, just presenting it to us, asking us to get informed.
Yeah, go out there, take a look at it, and then let's have a discussion at the next meeting.
Mhm.
I'd be glad to meet with anyone if you want to do it as a group. Truck
You know.
can carry everybody.
And what does, what,
Drive it together.
and we'll try to come up with some, when we say, what are we agreeing to? And, we're not agreeing to capital, so if a fence breaks, or if the crossing lights break, or if it needs to be repaved, we're not agreeing to any of that. We're agreeing to, maintenance, right? Snow plowing and weed whacking and mowing. But, we should get some estimates for how much is that gonna cost for what we're agreeing to.
When you say estimates, Chris estimating his manpower in-house, or are you suggesting?
No,
that getting-
manpower, or even, just, I think we need to be informed for what we're agreeing to.
And are they making specific requests about that, if we decide like, wow, there's, terrible snowfall and ice, and it's like, we're not gonna maintain it because no one's riding it anyway, we can make that decision on our own? Or is it like, nope, that needs to be maintained and available to riders all
I
the
mean,
time?
these are the questions that we need to ask.
Yeah, okay.
Legal counsel, and then you fall under the if it's considered seasonal road, then, or, I'm not sure what trail, this is a road. Then you mark it as not travel.
Yeah, so these are questions I want put together.
Okay.
And that we will ask the DOT. The reason this is unique is that they don't normally do it like this. Normally, you agree to all of this before it's built.
Yeah.
But they built it, and now they want us to agree to it. So normally, we would have to say, once, we really want this built, so we'll agree to anything. But they built it, and now they want us to agree. So.
Are there
but-
other
but
options for who else would
I don't know.
maintain it?
That's what we'll have to ask them.
Yeah,
And
that's
just to
right.
be clear, it's only in that corridor because that is a state road, and it's not also on Henry W.
Well, when we build Henry W., we're gonna have to then,
Then we'll maintain that.
because,
We already have to maintain that, that has nothing to do with this.
yeah.
Yep. So
Um,
it's the area that the state is
And,
responsible for
and
maintaining. that
they
we're
asked
talking
us to agree to this last year, and I didn't feel comfortable asking the board to agree to anything until
We saw it.
we could see it.
about. Yep, now we can see.
Good move. So it's hard to agree, at least I can look at engineering plans, I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. So I think now when we walk out there and look at it, it's beautiful. I went out there this week. It's nice. But we should all take a look at it and come up with questions, and we'll put them together and we'll send them to DOT.
Chris, will you throw out a couple dates to the board of like, let's do a
I'd
tour
like-
after work one day and?
And we can start putting these things,
Staff available to you all.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can do it together. That'd be nice.
It has a benefit, we can talk while we're
Yeah.
looking,
If we get a date,
cross-pollinate.
if it's possible, it's great.
all right? So that's all I have. I'll hand it over to Marty for the seeker.
Thank you. We have been working for a while and brought up before the board at our last meeting, the acquisition and renovation remodeling of 59 North Putt for the town's police and court. Our engineers and architects and our consultant have been working very diligently and are brought before us for tonight the tasks associated with seeker. And if I can open my computer to the right screen, I can actually find them. Otherwise, I have to do it for my notes, and that's risky. The first action I would ask the board to take is to approve the town as the lead agency for seeker purposes.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The second is, this is an unlisted action under seeker, and we have received the FEAF Part 1 and FEAF Part 2. There is one item in FEA Part 1 that, depending on what copy you received, you may or may not see it checked at Section C. Three little I's. Will the proposed action user create a new demand for water? and three little i's reads, will line extension within an existing district be necessary? The answer to that is no, it's not an existing district. The version that I received digitally did not have either of those checked. We just want to make sure that the final one does have no checked. And I would move that the board accept the FEAF Part 1 and FEAF Part 2 for this project.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next is actually a part of the seeker, and I was told I could have included it in it, and I didn't. I'm sorry. I move that the town board declare a negative declaration for this unlisted action.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, that we set a public hearing date. And Rosanna, you usually guide us for when we might want to do that or be able to do that.
Which newspaper would you like it?
It makes a difference, doesn't it? If you do it in the local paper, it won't be published till next Thursday. And if you do it in Daily Freeman, it would be published.
Earlier next
Yeah.
week.
I think we want to do it in the Daily Freeman, if that's acceptable to the board.
Yep.
But I would also like to ask that it also, can you publish it in the Times, even though that's not the official record that triggers the start of the period? Then the public has the best possible likelihood of becoming aware of it, if that's okay with the board.
It's fine.
Great. And
So if you wanted to do it that way, then first available date would be June 20th.
June
That
20th.
would allow enough time.
That's our next meeting, right?
That's,
Yeah.
yes. Good. So the public hearing, I move that the public hearing date be set for June 20th at 7 PM.
Sounds good. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you all.
Thank
The
you.
only thing I would suggest or request is somebody to send me a public hearing notice.
I will send you the entire packet that Rick Golden submitted, and I think it has that in it. If it doesn't, I will arrange, or Matt will arrange for it to be sent to you.
Okay, I would need it
Yeah.
right away tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
In order to get it.
And by what time would you wish it in the morning?
As soon as possible.
Okay, I'll look at the, and I'll forward you, Matt, the email from Rick, and if it's not in there, can,
I don't think it's in there, but we can.
you have it open, thank you.
What are we exactly saying? I'm not clear on how to make the public.
I will do it. And we want the notice of public hearing. Is that correct, Rosanna?
Yes.
I'll send you a draft, Martin.
Okay, thanks. We're good.
All right, motion to dismiss.
Seconded.
Adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matt, thank you very, very much for getting that all coordinated.